Making your way through work Monday takes everything you got. Then Monday night rolls around and you realize there's a shot. You're only 10 points away. All those times when your team had no fight, they're just so gosh darn frail. Then your star quarterback let another deep ball sail, and your third round pick bet on his team. Then go check out our streets where everybody knows your game, and they listen to complaints. You wanna be where you can see our bodies bring you no shame. You wanna go where everybody knows your pain.
Welcome back to another episode of Dad Bod Fantasy Squad. I am Yukon Cornelius here with Alex. Clayton.
What's up, buddy?
What's up, dude?
Yeah, you look like you're about to DJ in a set in Finland.
Okay, enough of this. What's up, dude? How was Thanksgiving? How was the weekend? How is everything?
It was good. I had some family come from out of town. My little cousin, she's basically my niece, was here, and
niche.
What?
Yeah.
Is that what that is? Is when it's a cousin's kid's a niche?
No.
No.
If you don't understand, then we'll just move on.
Yeah, I don't understand. But it was good seeing her. I don't get to see her much, and they're moving to like England this summer, so I wanted to see her as much as possible. So I hung out with them pretty much the whole weekend. Watched Michigan beat Ohio State and ate some good food. It was a great weekend.
I don't know if that last part needed to be added.
Yeah, go blue, man.
Oh, looking forward to Iowa beating Michigan. Good old 17 ranked Iowa. I think they're a little higher now.
Sure. I mean, you could look forward to growing to 6'1" if you think it's going to happen.
Been looking forward to it my whole life, dude. Looking forward to it my whole life.
Goals.
Yes. We got a good episode for you today. We're kind of just going to discuss some Dynasty ranks. Probably going to be a little bit shorter, assuming that most people have passed their trade deadline. We figured the buy, sell Wednesday episodes would probably have to come to a halt. And then that just gets you to wondering, like, what do I, as a fantasy football advocate, what's up, Albert? What do I want to talk about? Like, what is interesting to me right now? And just in general, and lately it's been all Dynasty for me personally. I don't know how. I felt a little bit disconnected from the redraft world this season.
Yeah, I'm in 2 redraft leagues, and one of them has been a redraft league for like 12 years that we've had. 12 years, and this has been kind of the most disconnected everybody was. I don't know if it's kind of like you're getting older, you don't spend as much time just doing weekly research for everything, and it's just not as fun. You like building,
we do a ton. Yeah, that's the thing though. We do a ton of research, and that I can't imagine that being a part of that, right? Like, this is all I focus on during football season is football, and redraft hasn't been super fun for me. But Dynasty is just skyrocketing the fun. And I also might have done too many leagues. I don't know.
I made a decision. I think I'm in 6 leagues, and I'm for sure cutting 2 out this year, bare minimum. I would prefer to cut
a lot of my redrafts. I'm cutting a lot of my redrafts.
Yeah, I honestly want to start another Dynasty. I really enjoy Dynasty for the
Dynasty's
most part.
A lot of fun.
Especially, I don't know, the 14-team one we're in is a lot of fun. Yeah, it's a lot. There's always action. It's never dull. There's always action.
If you get 12, 14 good owners, and my favorite is the owners that like know each other. I know that's not fair for all leagues because that just isn't the case. but like you get at least pockets of people that know each other. It's really a good time because, I mean, you have people will talk about trading in the sense of like you have an advantage if you know everyone and nobody else knows everyone. And I think that's true to an extent.
It is 100% true.
I think the motivation differs,
it's
really.
The communication, too.
Yeah, because like I could see you on the weekend and then we could just be talking trade or something.
Right. Like people you communicate with on a regular basis, you're going to just let's be honest, it's football season. We're talking football 80% of the time. It doesn't matter if I'm sitting on the toilet and I'm on the phone with, one of my best friends. Football's coming up. It doesn't matter.
Right. I agree. So, I mean, I do love our league a lot. I have a lot of fun.
Besides Brian, God, that guy.
Yeah, I wish we had just banned him from the league. So that brings us to what we're kind of getting at. And it's going to be just two dudes having a conversation that they would probably have at the bar about Dynasty. And maybe it's a little bit more involved, but really it's just going to be, I mean, we're going to try to pull up stats as we go. We wanted to keep this loose. We wanted to keep it free flowing and as little script as possible. So let me kick this off with name one younger player. Yeah. The lack of script took away the script. Peppermint. I'm with UConn. I haven't seen this movie in years. Name one younger player that you think is considerably undervalued currently in Dynasty that you're trying to get on your roster if your trade deadline has passed in Dynasty, which some will argue.
Spit it out, Junior.
Well, I saw it. Some will argue that there shouldn't be a trade deadline, but if your trade deadline has passed, name one player that's younger that you're looking to get on your roster this offseason or before this trade deadline.
Personally, this is more for next season. I don't know how much for this year. But Drake London, I really he looks good. He is a good wide receiver. That team this year just does not throw the ball, and when they do, it's not well. I have high hopes for him. I actually have higher hopes for him now than Kyle Pitts, and I was super, super high on Kyle Pitts.
So you're just going to be – so what you're saying is if Arthur Smith is fired this offseason, you're all in on every Atlanta Falcon, no matter who the coach is. I mean, Ben Johnson would be a great fit there.
I think Drake London. I think Pitts, regardless, next year gets a little bit of an uptick, but I thought that this year too, so more than likely I'm wrong. But with Drake London, him being a wide receiver, this is a pass-happy league. At some point, there will be some type of adjustment, whether it's Arthur Smith getting fired, him keeping his job, then getting fired like a few games in the next season. But they need to win games. I mean, they know their defense is solid enough, but they're not going to win games without throwing the ball.
What's his ceiling? Because sometimes I look at Drake London and
Michael Pittman.
That's where that's exactly where I think.
Yeah, which to me it's like I think right now you can get him cheap enough to where Pittman's borderline top 10 fantasy receiver.
Both USC, right?
Yep, both big boys from USC.
Yeah, not like overly fast, not slow. From your title, I found out today that Tank Dell is surprisingly old. Is this going to surprise me? Is it just 23?
I think he's 23, which is
24.
Old. He's 24?
He's 24.
So that means
probably turned 24 this season.
Rondale Moore is younger.
Drake London.
George Pickens. George Pickens.
It has been surprising, but I think we're going to see this a lot over the next couple of years, especially with the quarterbacks coming out. Bo Nix, I think, is going to be 24 by the time he gets out.
That dude's going to be Brandon Whedon's age. He's going to be 29.
He's not. I don't know why everybody thinks he's that old. That's the second. My dad said the same thing. I'm like, he's 24. I had to look it up, though. Well, so a player I just traded for, and this is really, he's 20. Bo Nix is 23 right now, born February 25th, 2000. Player I just traded for, and this happens a lot for me, is I usually typically fall in love with players and I go and get them. So it's not this conversation would have stayed the same regardless, but I've already made the move. I'm pretty excited to see JSN without constraints of being. I think Tyler Lockett's gone next year.
Yeah, I agree.
They have an out in his contract. Pete Carroll talks highly of JSN. He has a couple of post game or week conferences that he talks really highly of him, and I just don't think we've seen him fully unleashed. I also think it's kind of a weird system, right? You have Tyler Lockett, who plays a very similar role as what you want JSN to play.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you manage this? I think it's almost as this. Hey, Mark? Daddy. Yeah, it's almost hard to fit him into that team when you have two really good wide receivers, and I'm just excited to see what they do with them if Lockett is gone.
I mean, I agree. That was like coming into the season. The reason why I didn't have JSN super high on, redraft rankings was I think he's plenty good. That was never my argument. It's Lockett's there, and I thought Geno was going to get worse, which he did a little bit.
He did.
So JSN does the same route tree and is very comfortable in the slot and finding those open pockets, kind of short intermediate. I think he's going to be a baller next year. I don't know how cheap you're getting him, but I think he's going to be very good.
I think he's a little bit of a discount right now.
Maybe.
I don't think he's I don't think he's a first round pick 5-6 right now. I think he's late first.
I don't know how many receivers in this draft class are going to be that much better than JSN.
That is, I don't know how I feel about this class, and that's not really on the docket to talk about tonight. But question with the Seahawks, are they going to go with QB this year? Could they? I mean, they're 6-5 right now. Rams are sneaking, creeping. I imagine the Seahawks finish middle, somewhere in the 15-16 range.
I think they could possibly with a certain QB who might be around mid first round.
Jaden?
No.
Michael Penix?
No.
I don't know.
JJ McCarthy.
Oh, come on, dude. I don't think he's going to do anything in the NFL. And maybe I shouldn't go on the record saying this. I just don't know if he's it. I mean,
I think he's got Michigan a ton. So here's the thing. Obviously, Michigan's strength of schedule this year was very, very weak. Outside of Penn State and Ohio State, they didn't really play anybody.
And they barely beat Penn.
Barely beat.
They scored a late touchdown.
They were up like
17-9 was what it was with 12 minutes left in the fourth. Blake Corum had a 24-yard touchdown or something.
Don't make it seem tight. They ran the ball 32 straight times because they didn't have to throw the ball.
They didn't let McCarthy throw the ball. He threw 10 times that game.
He threw 9 times. He didn't. I don't think you're understanding. That's the point is that he didn't have to throw. He was 7 for 9. He didn't have to throw the ball. That game is not a good. That's not a good game.
I feel like you're saying he didn't have to throw. This isn't the NFL. Michigan wanted to crush them, and they couldn't.
They did not want to crush them. Yes, they did. They wanted to beat them.
In college, they want to crush every team.
When you have you forget that Jim Harbaugh was suspended. When you're having a new coach in there,
he's been suspended the whole year. I haven't forgot.
So they didn't want to risk it. There's no point to. There's no point to put yourself in a position to lose the game by putting the ball in the air. Every team, if they could run the ball down your throat, they're going to do it. If they didn't have to throw the ball, they would do it. It's riskier. It is riskier to throw the ball than to run the ball.
That's actually the concern game for me. I felt like they didn't trust McCarthy to throw it, and I hear you out.
That's Ohio State thinking. When as a Michigan fan, we never are going into it. They're going to throw the ball a ton. That's not going to happen. Penn State.
Is the last QB that came out of Michigan, Tom Brady? Is that it? Was that the last one? Last one?
Last QB to play in the NFL?
To be good in the NFL.
Good, like really good. Yes.
Who's comparatively? Who would be next step down?
After probably Chad Henne.
Okay. I just needed to know where we were standing there.
A starter for multiple seasons.
Then you're like Denard Robinson. Good. All right.
No, terrible.
Another question for you. Name one player that you think this is the final call for. Final curtain call here. And you should sell either now or in the offseason. If you have no trade deadline or if it hasn't crossed yet, sell now or in the offseason. Who would that be?
Cooper Kupp. and I traded a first round for him this year.
That's right. First and second.
I traded away 2 first round picks this year for Dalvin Cook and Cooper Kupp. I felt great about it.
And one for Derrick Henry, and that one's not that. It's going to be helpful. I don't disagree with that.
No, I needed it.
Yeah.
With Cooper Kupp, it's just injuries. That was the big issue coming in the season is, hey, this guy's been getting injured. What's it looking like? Matt Stafford's super inconsistent, and I think he's already old for a receiver.
Yeah. He came in. He was another guy that came in kind of to the league.
Semi-old. Yeah, he played 4 years in college. I think he might have a game or two where he looks really good, and then you dump him. You try to get rid of him.
Okay, so I hear you. I don't think he's gonna. I can see him not being elite, but his skill set definitely offers the. I mean, his route running is so crisp. And
dude, we could say the same thing about DeAndre Hopkins.
And I don't necessarily think this is D-Hop being washed, though. Like, I still don't believe it. Even I'll sit on this.
Well, that's the thing. There's other things that are going into it. Like, with D-Hop, it's the team he's on. With Cooper Kupp, it's injuries, the team he's on.
Yeah.
Nakua being with him. I don't see him having a top 5, probably not a top 10 season next year or ever going forward. And I think you can have a chance of selling him as a wide receiver, low-end wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2 for next season.
See, I could see him being at the low-end wide receiver 1 next year still, but I hear you.
That's what I'm saying. You could sell him for that. For me, it's like I think you could sell him for that. And if you can
I think that's worth it, especially if you're not competing.
Yeah, I would trade him.
I'm trying to think of like players that would come up that you would potentially trade for him right now. But as I think of this, should I start Calvin Ridley this week over Ayuk, Michael Pittman, Devontae Smith?
If anyone, Devontae Smith, but
especially because Devontae's a little banged up. They go against San Fran, which their secondary Ayuk and Devontae go against each other. It's been suspect to the wide receiver 1, so I think it's going to be an AJ Brown game.
But most teams don't have 2 wide receiver 1s.
That's true. It's very true. I think I stick. I think I personally stick with. I think I stick with Michael Pittman and Devontae Smith.
I agree. I do that unless Devontae's like actually
unless something. Unless the injury keeps. I think
Ridley is so boomer bust.
And he goes against Cincy this week.
They're gonna run a lot.
I think so too.
Or dump it to Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram. Just boom, boom, boom.
All right. So for my answer, I won't harp on it too much. It's all over Twitter, and it's kind of just convinced me. I think this is the curtain call on Austin Eckler, dude.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that either.
He hit on his one big play. I can't. Somebody posted this stat, and it was incredible. But there's this play that he was running on the sideline, and now I know he's dealing with a not fully 100% ankle. He hit 13 miles per hour.
Oh yeah, dude! I remember. I watched that play like live, and I'm like, this dude literally looks as fast as Dameon Pierce right now.
Those are usually I would
the touchdown. He literally was ahead. It was a touchdown.
Yeah, those are sometimes the biggest like red flags that people are like, well, I'm not worried about it, or maybe something was off, or that's a huge red flag. Anytime you start seeing a guy slow down, it's scary.
And he's a speed back. He's not Latavius Murray. He can't. This dude ain't playing until he's 34. He ain't big enough.
No, he's a beefy boy. Like he's built, but like I agree, man. His whole game.
Not a power back.
His whole game has been agility and speed.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of the big 3, Marvin Harrison Jr., Caleb Williams, Drake May. Who are you most excited for in the upcoming draft?
JJ McCarthy.
God bless it.
Yep. Sure am.
Why?
I think there's so much untapped potential. When he has to throw the ball a lot, for the most part, he looks really, really good. Especially for a QB who is not throwing the ball a ton. He's super efficient. He moves well. He throws the ball on the run very well. It's one of those things where it's with Michigan, with wide receivers and quarterback, it's super hard to evaluate because they do run the ball more than most teams. So
I was looking up his size, 6'3", 202.
Yeah, it's pretty ideal.
He looks a little smaller on field, but
yeah, I mean he's like Aaron Rodgers size.
Yeah,
give or take. But he moves, and
he's very current day QB. I'll give you that.
Yeah,
he
has a pro style offense.
Yeah,
it's like the difference of watching like Mac Jones and him. Mac Jones throws when he's on, he throws a pretty quick ball, but there's not that much juice behind it. Where you see JJ McCarthy, where he's got a stronger arm, he moves really well out of the pocket. I mean, he's going to have a lot more rushing yards in the pros than he did in college.
What team do you like him to the most?
You
would love him on New England.
No, I wouldn't. It'll ruin.
You think it would be too much of a reach?
Yeah. No, it's just it would ruin his career. We don't have any weapons. Like for me, it's like Seattle. Seattle, if they go for a quarterback and if they're picking 17, 18, 19, or even if it's a little bit later in the first round, I think JJ can realistically be there. We know how when we get closer to the combine, there's going to be talk of JJ being a top 5 pick just because of scouts being dumb. But I think he would be somebody where you have Geno for one more year, you have him sit behind Geno. If Geno's not pulling his weight, they put JJ in. And if he sits for a year, that's ideal. Yeah. That honestly is ideal. That's what you want. You want him to sit for a year.
Do you like him more than Caleb Williams or Drake May?
No.
Okay. But third?
Yes, I think he's the third best quarterback. Like ceiling wise, I think he's the third best. Bo Nix, you know what you get with him.
Yeah, I don't know how I have not figured out how I feel about Bo Nix, but I do know in the offseason all I want to do is watch all of these guys and try to see what I see and then see how it pans out because I haven't done that before.
He's just the offense, for Bo Nix is just sling it.
I was looking at the current draft order, and right now, as it stands, Chicago, Arizona, New England, back to Chicago, Washington, Giants, Tampa Bay, Jets, Chargers, Tennessee are the first 10. Damn, I did not know the Jets were 4 and 7. I thought they were something closer to 5 and 6.
No, yeah.
8.
Another reason you're not going to see Aaron Rodgers play again.
Yeah, why even put him off the?
He's not going to.
They have to win. They would have to win.
It's just board reporters.
I think one of the guys that I really like coming out, he's having an amazing year. Had a solid sophomore year, Malik Neighbors. The LSU wide receiver.
Where do you think he's going? I mean, he's probably maybe you think he's top 10? Probably.
In the draft? No. I don't think so.
He's probably a first rounder. I
think he's a first rounder. It's quiet though. Nobody really is mentioning this guy, and I don't know really why that is. He's 6 foot, 200 pounds, so he's not small, but he's not super tall. Currently 86 yards or 86 receptions, 46 yards, 14 touchdowns. I mean, he's having a great year. Yeah. I think he's for sure first. I don't know if I could see him in the. Like when we talk about those teams, we got Chicago that probably is going to draft a wide receiver. And now I don't know if they do. It depends if they go quarterback. They're either going quarterback or wide receiver, right? And then the other picks like offensive lineman or something.
I think they trade down.
Then you got Arizona, who's again wide receiver or QB if they trade away Kyler.
Yeah, I think they go defense.
I'd be surprised.
Wide receiver.
I think they need a wide receiver bad. You got New England, who also needs the QB wide receiver
quarterback.
Combo. Washington doesn't need a wide receiver. Giants technically need a number 1 wide receiver, and if they trust Danny Dimes, Tampa Bay doesn't need a wide receiver. Jets maybe. Chargers
they're not gonna
probably need every skill set position right now.
Who?
The Chargers.
They're all everybody's injured.
I mean, just all aging skill players. You got Keenan Allen's 32, Austin Eckler's close to 30.
Mike Williams is what, 29?
So, I don't know. I don't necessarily know where he goes in the draft order, but I know he's somebody I'm keeping an eye on as if the landing spot is like if he goes to the Giants, say he goes to the Giants at 6, I'm probably close to out. Even though I think he would take that number 1 spot, I don't know if I'm excited to have Danny Dimes throwing him the ball. But there's a lot of good places that he could end up at that I would be pretty excited for, that I would be keeping an eye on.
Yeah, no, I get that.
All right. Name a player that if you plan on competing this year or next that you're trying to buy for cheap that can significantly help you.
I think Michael Wilson.
Look at that. In a recent mock, I saw Malik Neighbors going to Buccaneers. That would be interesting.
Yeah, they could try to trade away contract.
House wanted to know JJ over Daniels from LSU. And I agree with House. I mean, I like Daniels a little bit more.
I get the argument. I think with Daniels, you see what you're getting more than with McCarthy, since with the type of offense he was in, you're not seeing him, using all of his tools all the time. I mean, LSU, I don't know, dude. It's hard for me to evaluate any quarterback in the SEC this year. I honestly think the SEC, this is the most overrated SEC I've ever
Pac-12's
seen.
been fire. Pac-12's been pretty good.
Two teams.
Washington.
And Oregon.
And that's
it.
There's a couple other.
No, the rest of them kind of the same thing. They look good.
Because you look at like US, well, like
USC was bad. UC's very bad.
Their offense, I mean, their defense was horrific.
Yeah.
Horrific, but like defense.
Caleb Williams is a little different.
Their schedule is rough though. It was.
The SEC
exact conversation I had with my dad, and he did that exact same thing.
The SEC though had guys like Ole Miss and Missouri, and they had, I think at one point, like 6 teams ranked in the top 25, and honestly, 2 of them should only be in the top 15. I think LSU's solid. I don't think they're amazing. I think what you're seeing with Daniels is he could end up being really, really, really good. I just think the offense is super tailored to him, like 100%.
Well, I do believe that. I mean, it's such a combo, and I just think that it doesn't get expressed enough. But it's such a combo. You draft a QB or you have a QB, it has to be a perfect match with that head coach. And
100%.
Like if Stroud went to Carolina, it wouldn't even be close. I don't necessarily think that means Bryce Young would be good. I just mean that I don't think we'd be seeing Stroud
Bryce Young
in the MVP running.
Right. Bryce Young would be drastically better if he was on the Texans. Do I think he's better than CJ Stroud? No.
Do you like this? This could be interesting. Do you like JJ McCarthy to the Falcons?
That would take a smart person to do that.
Albert, I think we are going to see, I don't want to say a historical, but I think we're going to see a lot of QBs move around. So, like, I don't even know if the Falcons are going to be a QB needy team by draft time. I don't. I could see them potentially making a move for Fields. That's his hometown.
I think the Bears keep Fields.
I struggle to think why. If Ryan Poole thinks his job is on the line,
yeah.
If Ryan Poole thinks he's going to want one chance to prove it with his guy,
Fields is going to have yeah.
And his job is on the line.
They have a lot of issues, but I just don't want to be the dickhead who's just always like, shitting on OSU quarterbacks. Like Stroud's looking great. There's a small part of me where I'm like, I still want to be wrong about Justin Fields.
I have turned the corner just to the slightest from some of the games we've seen this year. Like it's so weird because
it doesn't look great.
It's every play though there's a different sort of Justin Fields. One play I'm like, oh my God, look at that play that you just made. The other, he fumbles 2 times in a row, not in the same play, of course, but it's just so quick for him to change up, and I don't understand it. He hit, and this was 2 weeks ago now, he hit DJ Moore for that 50-yard bomb, and it was beautiful throw. It was a perfect throw. And like, I don't know. There's sometimes where I'm like convinced. I'm like, this guy could do it. Again, I don't think he's in the right setup. I don't think he's in the right setup.
To be a good quarterback in the NFL, you got to make those throws majority of the time, though.
I get that.
And that's like the only thing with it was like, oh, have you seen the throws he made? I'm like, I get it, but he's an NFL quarterback. He's supposed to make those throws.
I mean, a 50-yard bomb isn't necessarily like a locked and loaded for sure thing.
No,
But
I'm
I
not
hear
saying.
you.
I'm just saying like 1 out
Normal.
of maybe 30 he's completing on that. I'm saying like it needs to be more often, more common. It can't be one every 4 games.
I think he's a starter next year, and I think Kyler's a starter. I don't know where either of them are a starter.
Kyler's a Cardinal. Justin Fields, I still think he's a Bear.
If he gets traded, I think he's a starter. I mean, obviously there's certain.
I think he starts anywhere. Justin Fields will get another shot. It's like Mitch Trubisky. He's gonna get another shot.
Yeah, it's not the Trey Lance treatment.
Trey Lance was dog shit to begin with.
Yeah. I think somebody wants to try to unlock Fields, and I think it's still possible. I do.
By the Falcons or the Patriots, if he's available, those 2 teams are going after him.
If we bring this back, like the Falcons would be an exciting concept with a guy like Ben Johnson. Like I would probably overvalue the shit out of Justin Fields if I had him in Dynasty at that point.
Yeah, you'd put him as a top 5 quarterback.
I don't know if I would do that, but I would be really excited. That's a guy that could unlock crazy potential. I want to coach a head coach like that. Now, if it's Dan Quinn coming back to the Falcons, which he probably is going to be in the running for a head coach job, and he was already there, then I feel differently. Like those are the type of coaches that I'm like, no, I don't think you could bring. You're a defensive minded. Not only that you're a defensive minded coach, because D'Amico Ryans is. You're a defensive minded coach that is kind of old school. It doesn't really not creative. That doesn't want to try to untap the potential.
Yeah. I don't know how Houston did it, but they're doing it.
So back to, because he under that San Fran trade, name a player that you plan on trying to trade for either before this deadline or next if you plan on competing.
Where is this that I'm trying to trade for?
Yeah. Trying to buy for cheap. I forgot to leave that part out. I have to put that part in.
That was Michael Wilson. That was the one I was.
I don't think you ever mentioned it though.
I did. I think we just went off track.
Okay.
But yeah, I think you can get him cheap. I don't think Hollywood Brown's going to be there next year. I think that there's a legit chance that they try to get a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr. And I think if you have those 2 guys like Rondale Moore and why am I blanking on the other little guy, 5'7"
Greg Dortch.
Yeah, Dortch. I think it makes a lot of sense. You're paying Kyler a ton. Kyler's not bad. Michael
comment.
Matt.
I found this answer pretty interesting because for a competing team, Michael Wilson's going to be a sophomore next year, second year into the league, and we haven't seen much. There's nothing that necessary, but I can see the cheap part, right?
He just reminds me of a certain player that has had a pretty good year this year.
Nico?
Yeah.
I've thought about this question a lot, and I really don't even know if I would have an answer, but I was thinking more along the lines of an older player. So I think what I want to try to do for a QB room is try to get guys, and I don't know how cheap you could get them, but right now, I would think if the trade deadline hasn't happened yet, this would be the more ideal. So maybe this conversation was for a week or 2 ago, but I think Kirk Cousins could be an interesting buy right now, right? Can get him for probably a second rounder. If it's a competing team, maybe you give them a solid wide receiver that's aging or something like that. And of course I'm talking about super flex, but I guess that's where my mind was going, was more who's your Derrick Henry, who's your, if it was before this year, Austin Eckler, who are these guys that are aging that you need to have on your team to compete for the championship?
I would have gone with Derrick Henry.
Yeah, and I don't think Michael Wilson's the wrong answer, but I guess that's what I think it's.
I'd say for next year. It's done. It's for next year.
Which
I'm
really,
looking at is every trade line is done. I mean, trade deadline's done is the way I look at it. So there's not anybody. I don't know what leagues that's still going on, but I know in the 6 leagues I'm at, they're all trade deadlines done.
So I wanted to go to another topic. Did you have anything else to add there? I just cut you off.
No. I mean, honestly, like I would go Derrick Henry if the trade deadline was available. If not, I think you get Michael Wilson super cheap, and there's a ton of upside.
I think Alvin Kamara is a good one if the trade deadline's still going on.
Yeah.
Let's talk
I don't know if you're going to cheap though.
The insane rise of Tank Dell this season. So this is a guy that, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm trying to pull it up as quick as possible, on Keep Trade Cut is wide receiver 12 currently in Dynasty rankings.
Yeah.
Is it warranted?
Yes.
I actually am surprised by your answer with that.
I don't know. I mean, dude, I'm so excited for CJ Stroud. Me not being an Ohio State fan, me thinking Bryce Young was going to be better than CJ Stroud. CJ is, like I said, at college, he looked amazing. He has the best arm I've seen at Ohio State.
11.
Yeah. And now it's like he goes into the pros and he had Nico, who was a 5-star recruit wide receiver. Tank, who has just crazy chemistry and he just finds where to get open. He's like Steve Smith. He's little, he gets open, and he can burn you. This team, like we always talk about, what team, do you see that could possibly have 2 top 10 wide receivers or 2 top, 15 wide receivers? And I'm looking at next year's Texans as those guys are 2 top 15 wide receivers.
And I think it's interesting because Nico's got next year would be his last year on the contract. I'm pretty positive, right? If it's not this year.
Yeah, next year.
Next year for sure.
I'm 99% sure. Because if not, you're signing him regardless.
I feel like it's next year also, like 2025 season, because I feel like we would have heard something about extensions.
Yeah, it was 4 years, so next year.
Like before next season or after next season? Like after the 2024 season?
Yes, next year is his last year.
Okay. No, I think I try, and I've said it to you a lot, and I don't know how to. What scares me about Tank Dell is that he's just so little.
Yeah.
And in Dynasty, and I've come to the realization that this doesn't matter in football anymore. But I have not come to the realization that this might not matter for injury and what that means for longevity in the NFL. And that's where I'm struggling to grasp where Tank Dell falls in that. Because, I mean, this guy is what, 165? I mean,
I think he's 165 at the combine. I think he's playing a little closer to like 170, but it's still small. But so is Devontae Smith.
But like, think about that though. Is Devontae that small? Because
Devontae was like 6 foot 170.
That's Travis Benjamin size, and we used to look at him like he was the smallest man in the world.
So Devontae Smith, 6 foot 170. Tank Dell and him are almost the exact same size.
Yeah, Tank Dell probably got a little bit more meat on him.
That's
I
what
guess.
I'm saying.
That's the only concern, and I don't look. I don't look into.
Safe.
I've been
Football
trying.
is so safe for receivers now.
I know. I think that's the only thing that would. I don't like his price right now is more than a first. Valid. This is a guy that went in 3rd round of rookie drafts, if that.
He was a 3rd round pick. You probably didn't even get drafted.
He did in ours, but we were 14.
Well,
it was like second to last.
It's 99% Ohio State or 90% Ohio State fans who hear CJ Stroud has chemistry with Tank Dell. They're like, "Oh, taking him." It was a good call, but I feel like most people weren't taking him.
All right, I'm going to keep moving us along here to pretty much our final discussion point. 2 guys I want to talk about. Is it over for Quentin Johnston or Bryce Young? You can answer. You don't have to answer at the same time, but those are 2 guys I want to talk about because it has not looked good.
I think Quentin Johnston still has plenty of time. Rookie wide receiver. I think that it can be an adjustment. He is bigger. Bryce, he looks so freaking small on the field. That team sucks. The owner sucks. I'm super worried for Bryce Young. I just don't know how it gets much better.
I don't either. I don't know. They have no first round pick. You have no wide receivers. They're going to land a guy like they possibly can sign somebody like Jerry Jeudy, possibly T. Higgins. All of it doesn't. I would feel bad for T if that's where he ends up. So let's talk about Quentin Johnston real quick. When you said that there's still a chance, we're talking specifically about fantasy and dynasty in that regard. Are you willing to buy him? Because to me, the fact of this guy ever really being a top 24 wide receiver is kind of, I don't want to jump the gun, but it seems far. It seems out of reach. Like he could be a role player.
I think next year, I mean, when's Mike Williams has got what, 2 years left?
Yeah, it doesn't matter though. Like every possible situation has happened and he hasn't shown anything.
I just don't think he's the same type of receiver as like Addison, Zay Flowers, Tank Dell. I just don't think he's a similar receiver. He's kind of bigger. When
have we ever seen a rookie wide receiver look this bad and then them turn it around? The only person I can think of in recent years, Devontae Parker.
I don't know.
This is like historically bad with the amount of snaps he's getting.
I don't know. I mean, it's bad, but
what's he have 200 yards on the year? If that,
yeah, he drops the ball so much.
It's 190 yards, and I'm assuming he's probably averaged somewhere around 70% snaps because he's just had the opportunity to be in the game.
For the season. You think 70%?
Yeah, it would be close.
No,
so
I don't think so.
From week 7, 54, 70, 83, 85, 86, then 44 last week. Because he got benched.
I mean, and it's also just kind of worrisome when you have like kind of bigger receivers who are just on teams that just have like that spread offense, not pro style offense, where the wide receivers can kind of run their own routes. The routes don't need to be clean breaks. It's like watching N'Keal Harry. Like when Arizona State had him, it was just like, yeah, he got open and did some things, but it's also like it doesn't necessarily translate to the NFL, and it might not ever. I think Quentin's better than N'Keal Harry, but it's also like unless he figures out how to run routes and catch the ball, like he's going to be done. But I'm not bailing on him yet, and I think you can get him cheap. So it honestly might be like a real low buy. Sit on him for a year. If he's trash, you get rid of him. But Mike Williams is always injured.
I wouldn't throw a second round out for him right now.
No, I'd probably give a third rounder or try to.
Yeah, I think that's fine though.
Yeah.
I don't think that's that's not. I guess what I'm saying is that's not a very strong indication. Indictment from your end. Hawk is on a bye. Should I risk going with Goddard or pick up Otten or Higbee or Jawan? I'm in the camp of thinking that Jawan.
I'm on the Higbee. I'm on the Higbee train this week.
I think Jawan. I mean, especially if Olave's out, who are they going to throw to outside of Alvin Kamara? Because all those wide receivers are out. I think it could be a good week for Jawan.
Yeah, it's not a bad play. And who knows? Yeah, with Olave, I think there's been one of concussion protocol in the week time period.
Madison, I think it was. Was it Madison?
The next week. So I don't know. Olave looks like he's high.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Jawan Johnson this week.
Yeah, it's not a bad play.
Back to the discussion though. Bryce Young. You've already kind of spoke your thoughts on him, and I think it's tough to see him kind of turning the corner, especially in an offense. But more importantly, man, like you see a QB coming out like this after year one, you don't really typically see them turn around. Like we saw T-Law turn around to some extent, but he was never in this kind of shape.
The only chance they have is if they literally, I mean, Jacksonville. T-Law's first year, ETN was hurt, so you didn't see him all season. Then he comes back his second year. They get Christian Kirk. They end up later getting Calvin Ridley. They get Evan Ingram. They made a lot of moves to improve it for Trevor Lawrence. And I think if Bryce has any chance in hell for that happening, you got to get in, another running back. You've got to get a faster running back. You've got to get wide receivers. The defense is solid, but you need linemen and you need receivers. I mean, plain and simple. Offensive line, wide receivers, whatever it's going to cost for you to get T. Higgins, spend it. Go after Jerry Jeudy. DeAndre Hopkins could be available. Like, load up. Spend all the money you have.
It really comes down to the owner is really kind of just mismanaged for years now. And
Bill
that's
Belichick,
never going to – your QB is never going to do well if you have – your team isn't going to do well if you have mismanagement somewhere. And he has really made every wrong move that he can. Now, I'm not blaming him for trading CMC. I actually thought the haul was great. But the DJ Moore trade involved in getting a quarterback doesn't make any sense. Why go for a rookie QB? Like, I understand going for Bryce Young. That's fine. If you believed in him, you believed in him. Or if it was even at that point, it was probably Bryce Young or Stroud.
Best offensive player, though.
Yeah, how's that going to help?
It's not. Obviously, it didn't.
It didn't. And it's really bit them in the ass. And QB.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to tell you, like, that's literally what it is. Get a whole new offense besides QB.
I don't even know if that saves him. I mean,
tackle plays trash. The wide receivers outside of Thielen are terrible, and Thielen's, house's age, and you can't do anything. You have terrible play calling. They finally got rid of that, but you have a bad owner. You don't know who the coach is. The GM's not great. You traded away your best offensive player. The receivers you have are all bums outside of Thielen, like straight bums that, honestly, they might not make rosters next year, the other receivers, besides Mingo, maybe.
He sucked.
You know what I'm saying?
He sucks.
Chenault sucked. Marshall sucked. Like, you've got the top two wide receivers that are available, throw them all the money you can.
Bryce Young on the year, 216 of 350 attempts, so 62%, which isn't terrible by any means.
Isn't the worst thing ever.
1877 yards, low yardage, 9 to 8 touchdown to interception ratio. It's just been a little bit tough.
Yeah, the 9 to 8 touchdown interception ratio is like the least concerning thing.
Yeah, that's I mean,
that's rookie numbers. That's rookie.
It doesn't even matter if it's rookie numbers. It's really I think touchdown interception outside of interception, but like touchdowns really going to be dependent on what you got surrounding you. I mean, it truly is. It really is. You're going to throw more touchdowns if you have good players.
Yeah, it's unbelievable how bad they are. And coaching is super important. I mean, it is very, very important. Look at the Bears, look at the Panthers. I mean, right now look at the Patriots. Bad management, Alex, bad coaching.
You are, I wouldn't say at risk, but within the bubble of an elimination between three people. Two of you make it to the playoffs in our main league. In order for you to secure it, you would need to win both games this week.
I need to win one. Oh, you're talking about for both leagues?
No. Against the median and the game. Like, it actually doesn't secure it. You need to. If I win
the median and win this week, I'm in. I'm playing Felix next week, bro.
It doesn't. I mean, but I'm just saying the person behind you has 13 wins. They could definitely tie you, and they have more points than you currently. But again, you would have to lose both games next week.
Yeah, I'd have to lose both.
Yeah,
I'm not. If I win both of these,
are you nervous?
Who's the 8? Who's the 8 right now?
Lep. Are you nervous?
Yeah, I'd have to lose both this week and lose next week.
No. You would only have to lose 2 games.
Yeah.
If you lose 2 games over the next 2 weeks, you are in risk. But he would have to win all 4.
I think Lep's got an easy week this week too.
He would have to win all 4. His points dominate.
He's going against House. House doesn't even have. I don't think House is starting a roster.
But it's a median too, so like the median changes a lot of that. There's 4 possible games here. He needs to get 4 W's for his best chance. You need to at least win 3 of the next 4 to secure. 3 of the next 4 secures you.
Yeah.
Come down to it.
Yeah,
that will hurt. How painful would that? How would you feel if you came out of this without hitting playoffs? How would you feel?
I'd be disappointed, man. My only goal was to make the playoffs because anything can happen, once you get there. So
I wouldn't. I mean, I would just
lots of
I would
injuries.
just be laughing it up, dude.
Oh, I know, dude. If I don't make the playoffs, I'm gonna get probably like 10 voicemails from
You're gonna have to
Brian.
turn off your phone for the week.
Brian's just gonna leave me constant voicemails and send me like dog shit in a box, and like I can only.
I just got. Did you see your text?
No.
Okay.
Oh, when he put Thielen, his house is age also younger than Alex. Yeah, Thielen's getting close to me, Alice, man. He's getting old.
He's younger than you. All right, and he always will be younger than you.
Yeah.
That pretty much wraps up our Dynasty chat. That was fun. I think this is what will be our Wednesdays moving forward, not necessarily with me, but one of us, two of us, whatever it may be. I think Alex and I are back next Tuesday, but tomorrow, Rob and I will be back on for our Studs and Duds episode, and then Sunday we'll be live at noon, answering any live start sit. And if you have any questions, check us out at DadBodFS on Twitter and let us know thoughts, concerns, suggestions.
Yeah, what's your thoughts on JJ McCarthy, everyone?
Gross.
That's a valid thing. He's who knows where he goes, what he does. It's exciting. It's exciting.
For myself, for Clay Thompson, we love you guys. Peace out.
Go Blue.
Great. Thank you for watching our episode. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
If you aren't already following us on Twitter, check us out at DadBodFS.
We'll be posting all of our best clips and videos to all of our social media: TikTok, Instagram, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube. You can find us on there at DadBod Fantasy Squad.
Lastly, if you'd rather just listen, we make sure we post our audio of each episode on all the major streaming platforms. Stick with us all season long so together we can count our